Does land size really matter? In today's video, we're going to talk about land and what size block you should be looking for when making a purchase. We're going to break down the proximity from the CBD. Let's talk about location, and all things when assessing a block of land and, a house on a block of land when making a investment property purchase. My name's Luke and I talk about real estate, renovating and financial freedom. So subscribe to the channel and let's jump into our discussion about land today. Now, there's been a lot of speculation about land size and buying bigger blocks and even buying smaller blocks. There's been a big move to tiny houses, micro apartments, smaller living spaces, and with that comes smaller land. Now, the developers love this because that means they can build homes on smaller and smaller blocks. It's also low maintenance for people that live in those properties. My personal opinion is that the Australian dream is not over, and holding a good piece of land in a great location in those inner middle rings of CBD locations of our major capital cities is a great play as an investment opportunity. Now, let's talk about block size. So those developer blocks that I just mentioned before can range anywhere from 200 square meters to around 350 square meters. Now, when you're looking at not developer blocks out in the suburbs, when you're looking at blocks closer to the CBD, they can again range anywhere in that size. But the big difference is they have proximity to the CBD, proximity to schools, transport, amenities, and lifestyle opportunities that can't be afforded in those outer suburbs, 30 to 40 kilometers from the CBD. So block size matters, but what also matters with block size is the location. You really need to focus on the location of where that block size matters, because you could buy 10 acres, but if the 10 acres is in the middle of Australia, it's not going to be as high a demand as 10 acres right next to the city. So let's look at the different distance from the CBD and what I think a good block size might be in those locations. If you're looking to make a purchase, say, anywhere between 1 to 3 kilometers from a CBD, I would say the minimum block size you should be looking for is around 300 square meters. That's roughly what an inner city suburban block looks like in Brisbane. So that would fit a reasonable sized house anywhere from 3 to 5 bedrooms. And you can also have a bit of a courtyard and a backyard on those properties. They are small blocks, but given that they're within that 1 to 3 kilometer distance from the CBD, it's part of the lifestyle and it's part of the cost. Those pieces of land aren't cheap and you're buying what is consistent in that suburb. So those are consistently sized blocks in those areas. The next ring I wanted to look at was 4 to 10 kilometers from the CBD. This is what I call the middle ring up here in Brisbane. So middle ring suburbs are more suburban, and the block sizes I think you should be looking for in these areas are 400 square meters to around 600 square meters. You can of course pick up 800 square meter blocks, but they're gonna come at a premium and they're really difficult to find and usually have a Queenslander in the middle of them. People are always looking for these 800 square meter blocks for opportunities to subdivide into 2 400 square meter lots. But if you're looking to just make a straight house and land purchase in one of these middle ring suburbs, 4 to 10 kilometers from the CBD, I'd be looking at a minimum of 400 square meters up to an average block size of around 607 square meters is the classic here in Brisbane. Now, when you're looking 10 kilometers plus from the CBD, this is where it gets very difficult to determine what block size you should be looking for. But as a general rule of thumb, you should be looking for 600 square meters plus of land when you're 10 kilometers plus from the CBD. Now, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of the developers will be looking to squeeze small blocks, houses on small blocks of land in that 10 kilometer plus range where they're building new house and land estates. They're gonna be looking at 270, 250 square meters for a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom home or a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom home on these smaller size blocks. It's important that you try and get a great location mixed with the land size. You can't just look at one or the other. You couldn't, for example, buy a really small piece of land at 150 square meters or 180 square meters right in the city, or 300 square meters 10 kilometers out from the city. You've got to find where the consistent land to value is there, and that differs depending on how far away you are from the city. Now, of course, all of this is just a rule of thumb. You've got to look at each property on its own merit and understand the land content that comes into making a property purchase. A common saying in property investing is that the value is in the land, and that's really true. Buildings depreciate, the house, the walls, the floors, all of that deteriorates over time. What doesn't deteriorate over time is the land component. And that's what people are looking to buy. They're looking to buy into a suburb, into a great location, and into a place where they want to live for the long term. So if you can buy in pockets and suburbs and purchase land that will be in demand for the long term, that's where I can see that you're going to get consistent long-term growth through your property investing journey in those types of properties and those types of land. Now let's talk about the dimensions of a block, because oddly shaped blocks come up all the time where they say they've got 900 square meters, 700 square meters. It could be even a normal block at 600 square meters. But if the shape of the block isn't suitable to build, or it isn't suitable for the home that you're investing in, then it might not be a great opportunity in terms of building long-term wealth and buying a property that is going to resell well to the market. So you really want as many people as possible interested in buying a property down the track to help it grow and help keep the demand there over the long term. For example, you see a lot of backyards with angled corners and weird little pockets of areas where, the block runs at a diagonal at the back of the property. Ideally, you're looking for those rectangular or those square blocks which are nice and simple, have a nice wide frontage, and continue in that shape uniformly to the back. When you end up with those weird pockets and weird shaped properties, you end up with space that's not really usable. You can't really use the space well in a backyard. It's difficult for development, and it might not be a deal breaker, but ideally you're looking for a rectangular block which has a nice wide frontage. Now, what have we done in our own investing journey when looking at making purchases of property and looking at the land component of that property? We've made purchases of 300 square meter blocks in that inner ring of the CBD locations, and we've also made 600 square meter purchases of land further out. And essentially, the way we looked at it was, what is the average block size in this suburb? And is this what most people would want to buy if we're looking to resell? So really what it comes down to is assessing each property for its merit and looking what else is comparable in that suburb or in that area for land size and investing for the long term. So in my opinion, land size really does matter. If you're interested in finding your annual land valuation, the dimensions of the block and the lot number, check out this video over here. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.